Hey everybody, Mr. Lawrence here with our Act 2, Scene 4 commentary. This is right after Romeo went and visited with Friar Lawrence, and they made the plan to wed Juliet Capulet and Romeo Montague. This is a secret plan that so far only 3 people know about. If we were in class, this would be a quiz, by the way. Which 3 people know about the plan? Romeo, Juliet, and Friar Lawrence, and that's it. It's a very tight circle. Anyway, Romeo went to go visit with Friar Lawrence in the last scene, and they made the arrangements for the wedding. Remember, this is in the morning, the early morning, Monday morning. This is right after the party and all that stuff. This play is so short as far as like just a few days. So here we go. This is now Monday, like late morning. Maybe it's 9 o'clock, something like that. And Romeo finally is going to catch up with his buddies. Remember, last night after the party, Romeo's cousin and friends were just upset they couldn't find Romeo after the party. Romeo gave them the split, or gave them the I can't remember how it said in the play, but he bailed on them. He basically said, "Peace out, I'm gone." And that's when he went and found Juliet at the balcony. So this is now mid-morning. Romeo's met with Friar Lawrence, and he's going to catch up with his buddies. His buddies are sitting in the same town square where the big fight had happened. I would normally show you a scene of this, of that fight, and then this next scene. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll spend some time and try to find a video clip of this. But essentially, Romeo goes and just visits with his friends, and his friends, especially Mercutio, give him a hard time. They're like, "Romeo, man, you're a punk. I can't believe you ditched us," and all of that kind of thing. Romeo doesn't tell them anything about what really occurred, about how he held hands with Juliet, how they had a couple kisses, how later he went to the orchard to the balcony, and how he just arranged to get married to Juliet. Romeo keeps that all to himself. All right, the guys are kind of acting rowdy, and they then see Romeo and they give him a hard time about everything. "Oh yeah, the slip, sir, the slip. Can you not conceive?" And Romeo's like, "Yeah, well, whatever." The guys are just talking, and there's a lot of back and forth. This is a great example of where Romeo Mercutio acts as a foil to Romeo. There's a lot of banter. There's a lot of back and forth. As crazy as Mercutio gets, Romeo stays kind of calm and civil. Benvolio is like the ultimate foil because he doesn't do anything. He's like, "Let's all just get along. Let's be peaceful." Benvolio is very peace-oriented. But the guys are sitting there talking, and Romeo keeps everything to himself. He just doesn't say anything about his plans or his arrangements. And the one thing that he and Julia had arranged at the end of the balcony scene was for the nurse to later come and get word of what's going on. Or by way of their servants, I guess is how they worded it. Romeo's servant is a character we still haven't met. His name's Balthazar. And then Juliet's servant is technically the nurse. The nurse is her confidant. So that was arranged before, that the nurse would come and find out from Romeo what the plans are. And that's where this happens. The nurse shows up with her servant, which is kind of crazy that we could have a servant that has a servant. But that's what it is. The nurse has Peter, and Peter is clueless. He is just so oblivious to what's going on. The nurse speaks in very hushed tones, even though Benvolio's nice. Mercutio is totally teasing the nurse. making fun of how she looks. Like, it's harassment. It's inappropriate. He talks about how her dress is so big it looks like a sail, a sail. It is really inappropriate. He even sings a stupid little song, um, and just is just making fun of the nurse. Peter, the servant, actually starts laughing about it too, and the nurse is like, "Shut up, Peter. You know, you're a horrible servant." Uh, in the end, the nurse says, "Hey, I need to speak to Romeo." And who is Romeo? Well, she's actually talking to Romeo. Romeo's the one that started to talk to her. He recognized her from the ball. She would not have recognized him because they all had costume masks on, remember? It was a masquerade party. So anyway, she's like, "I need a word with you, with Romeo." This is all very suspicious to Mercutio and the other Montague friends and family. And they're just like, what the heck is going on here? Anyway, Romeo and the nurse disappear to talk. And I don't know that the stage directions say. No, the stage directions keep it very, very reserved. It doesn't really say where they go. They just walk away somewhere. In the movie versions, it's typically depicted that the nurse and Romeo enter the church and they go inside the church and talk because that's a very quiet place. It's a place where they can have some privacy and, of course, be out of earshot of Mercutio and his harassment. But either way, Romeo and the nurse talk, and the nurse is like, "So?" And Romeo's like, "Yeah." And the nurse is, she's trying to find out what the heck is going on. The nurse is absolutely just in love with Juliet. She's the favorite thing in her life. It's something that hasn't come up very much, but remember I told you in Act 1, Scene 1, I think, maybe it was in Scene 2, the nurse confides that she had a daughter at the same time that Juliet was born. That was how she was able to nurse. Remember, she was a wet nurse. And Juliet, because this other daughter had died, the daughter died. Juliet became her daughter in some ways. The nurse took care of her whole life. So Julia, the nurse is so excited that they're going to get married. She thinks this is fantastic. She's so happy for Juliet. She just is ecstatic. And she tells Romeo how wonderful Juliet is. And Romeo knows. He's like, "Yeah, duh, that's why I'm marrying her." That's really what this scene is all about. There's a little bit of a back and forth. And he's like, "Hey, make sure that Juliet comes to the church." And I think the wording here is have her come around noon. Okay. I think recall there was a time that was set. And he said, have her come for shrift. Now, shrift is not a word that we use too often, but basically it's come to confession, come to talk to the priest, come to have a private conversation with the friar. He doesn't say out loud, "The wedding is at this time, have her come for the wedding." He says, "Have her come for shrift." But it's code because Romeo is like nervous. He thinks he can trust the nurse, but he doesn't know her. He knows Juliet. So that kind of takes us through the end of this scene. The nurse is excited to have a new person in her world, in her family, and that would be Romeo, because in the way that this should all play out, Romeo and Juliet will get married and be together forever, and everything will be perfect. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we will pick this up again after the weekend. Enjoy your reading of Act 2, Scene 4. And please make sure to take care of any missing assignments. The administration's really trying to make sure that students are interacting with the course. I'll talk about some other things in my introductory video, but hope everything's going well for you. Be safe. We'll see you guys later.